The World Travel and Tourism Council, responsible for 10.3% of the African income and over 10 million jobs, urges government to open the industry or risk severe job losses. Now, warnings are rising locally and internationally as many businesses are facing the possibility of closure caused by COVID-19. And the advent of digital technology is taking center stage, introducing ways of learning and making money. So Jumbo, Dumela and welcome. I am Tumelo Mututwane and this is #Africa. Digital Africa is planning to develop a white paper for the next 3 years on how to support Africa's high-impact startups. But joining me now via Zoom tonight is newly elected board vice president and interim president, that is Kizito Okechukwu. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think it's befitting to start by congratulating you as you've just recently been appointed as the board vice president and interim president for Digital Africa.
Thank you very much, Tumelo. It's such an honor and I'm humbled to take over this huge role and to support African startups with this role also. Thank you very much. Yeah.
But for anyone watching this conversation, I mean, particularly African-based entrepreneurs and business owners, what sense of administration and leadership do you bring to the table?
We want to do two things, right? And one thing we're trying to understand already is what has worked and what has not worked within the ecosystem. We want to also look at the role of silos. So how have ecosystem stakeholders been working in silos? How have we, over the past few years, been unable to impact the startups that really need support? So the pre-seed and seed stage startups. But within that, we want to understand what has worked and what has not worked, and then what do we bring to the table to ensure that what has not worked start working. So if one looks at the system of innovation, so the national system of innovation, it shows clearly the patterns. It shows clearly it shows clearly the gaps in the ecosystem. And one thing we want to do from our side is not to reinvent the wheel, but to fill in the gaps. And we'll do that two ways. One is support for high-impact startups. And when I mean high-impact startups, we are specifically talking of digitally enabled startups across Africa. We want to ensure that whatever we provide, whether from a financial support, from a non-financial support, helps these digitally enabled startups to commercialize and to scale. So that is the most important thing we wanna achieve within this role. The second thing we wanna achieve is looking at the ecosystem across Africa. I mentioned earlier on silos. How do we ensure that we build a cohesive, a coordinated ecosystem that really supports the startup? By ecosystem, we think of investors, we think of startups, we think of policymakers, and so on. So we want to be able to understand what has worked within the ecosystem and what has not worked. But how do we bring our resources to ensure that it works?
Now, your appointment comes at a very challenging time for the world. Do you feel any amount of pressure, particularly for the timing of your appointment?
I feel that, but also I feel like it's a very good time for me to take over this role because it gives me a wide range of opportunity. It's like you have an open book to play with, right? And how do you play with that? And also startups currently have an open book to play with because what has happened now is it's opened up a wide variety of industries and opportunities for startups to play in. And what we want to do with the pandemic that has just happened, that is currently still ongoing, is that we want to be able to ensure that we give opportunity to every startup to be able to take their initiative forward.
Now, looking at your core business, which is the digital space, and it's where you play in as Digital Africa, is this a sector that all Africans should consider at this difficult time?
So, I mean, I'm only five 5 days in this role, or 4 days. But the French President Emmanuel Macron launched this last 2 years in 2018, focusing on how do we support digital ecosystems across Africa and how do we support African startups. And so this is a presidential initiative, but it's under the guidance of the French Development Agency. 65 million euro initiative. And I think that over the past 2 years, there's been a lot of planning, there's been a lot of support on activities that's been happening. I think over the past 2 years, the team that has been there has been trying to understand what has been happening across the ecosystem. So from next year, the key thing is now how do we implement? But also, one of the key activities that the previous team championed was selection of 1,000 entrepreneurs. If you will remember, this month we're meant to have an Africa-France summit in Bordeaux, in France. That was cancelled because of the COVID. Within that summit, 1,000 African entrepreneurs have been selected by the French government, by Digital Africa. And the French government was meant to fund 1,000 entrepreneurs to go to France. So this is already a big milestone that they've achieved. So what we're going to do is to look at that data, look at the startup that's been selected to say, how do we support them further? So those are some of the activities that they've done in the past. Yeah.
Now, we look forward to seeing the work that you do under your leadership. And thank you very much for joining us right here on #Africa. And we wish you all the best. Now in East Africa, many traders in Kenya are crying for help. And this is because an open-air market in Kenya's western city has been demolished, leaving many of its businesses on the brink of collapsing.
Kenyan traders look through the ruins of the market they worked at. Around 3,000 traders and up to 10,000 on Sundays would sell their goods here at Kibuye Market in Kisumu. But authorities demolished the area overnight, leaving sellers like Florence Ongai desperate.
I think the government could have been wait for a while, so that when Corona ended, they can continue to develop the market. But for now, they have come. Actually, if you look around, people are supposed to keep the distance, and now people are scattered all over.
The local government said the market was taken apart due to a multi-million-dollar plan to regenerate the area, and they've promised to relocate the traders. Doris Ambara is Kisumu County Manager.
During this opportunity, when we have the coronavirus matters going on, we worked it out with the county government, led by the governor and the executive who's here for trade, and the national government through the county commissioner, to relocate the traders who were in Kibuye Market to various markets.
Though planners see a new future for the area, the decision has left thousands of small business owners facing only uncertainty.
And still to come on #Africa, in celebrating its 175 years in operation, Old Mutual is giving back by launching the biggest digital classroom in Africa. Earlier on in the week, Vuyo Lee, the Chief Marketing Officer at Old Mutual, joined us on a Zoom meeting to talk about the digital classroom and how it plans to move Africa forward. Vuyo, thank you for your time and welcome to #Africa. Now, what is your idea around the digital classroom and how is it going to work?
So the big idea really came around because we were celebrating our 175th birthday as Old Mutual. And one of the things we started thinking about is, yes, we've made an impact in the past. The brand has stood the test of time, but what way can we actually make an impact into the future? And we identified the digital classroom as a legacy project where we give access to learners and teachers and entrepreneurs on education modules for primary education, secondary education, and also financial education. And this platform will really connect the learners, the teachers, and the entrepreneurs, and it's expected to reach across the African continent, really delivering education in an innovative way.
And just lastly, Vuyo, what impact do you see this initiative having, of course, to the rest of the world?
I'm very excited about this initiative because I do believe that it's something that will make an impact. I do believe that, we need to always, reference back to the sustainable goals and make sure that we do our part as corporate, but also as citizens to align to those goals. We do believe that this definitely harnesses, the power of partnerships and looks at how we can enable poverty alleviation through education. It is part of the Old Mutual strategy to look at education and financial education, and we believe this is just one step to progress it.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us. That's Vuyo Lee, Chief Marketing Officer at Old Mutual.
Thank you so much.
38-year-old teacher in Ethiopia is also tackling the issue of illiteracy by bringing in a bright and inquisitive African puppet, Teshe, which means sun in the Ethiopian language.
Using a giraffe sock puppet named Zahai to educate kids in 7 Ethiopian dialects, Brooke-David Digabu is planning to reach 10 million children around the country. The 38-year-old came up with the idea of an animated puppet show while teaching children in a primary school. Her main concern is tackling the issue of illiteracy in Ethiopia.
In some regions and some situations, in fact, up to 50% of the children, going to school, for 2 years and 3 years, still unable to read a single sentence. So what does that mean? What does it say for the child? It says that the child start doubting themselves. That is because of the failure of educators like me, and the parents and the whole system is failing the child. So that is not acceptable for me. So I wanted to find a way to reach and to change that.
The popular show, enjoyed by the Eka family during the lockdown, teaches alphabets and tells stories. Zahai, the puppet, also deals with sensitive issues such as domestic violence and the current global health crisis.
መማር ትወዳለች፣ ወዳታለሁ። ምክንያቱም ትምህርት ታስተምራለች። ኮሮና ቫይረስን እንከላከል ታስተምራለች። እጃችንን እንታጠባለን። በሳሙና እጃችንን እንታጠባለን። ፊደል ታስተምራለች፣ ተረት ታወራለች።
While the kids watch the show, parents get to also enjoy a little break.
ግን ይሄንን በማየታቸው አንደኛ ለራሳቸውም ትምህርት አይሆን ዝግ ስለሆነ ቤት ውስጥ እንዲያዩ ከዚህ ዕውቀት እንዲጠቀሙ ይጠቅማል። እኛም ደግሞ አርፈን ስራችንን እንድንሰራ በጣም የተሻለ ነገር ይሆናል ብዬ አስባለሁ።
The show's creator decided in order to reach children across Ethiopia, they had to translate the show into all languages. A team of 120 language and educational specialists helped with the new formats.
The way we are doing it is using mass media, the TV and radio. And as you know, this is not safe environment for every day. It gives us energy, risking our life to come to work and making sure literally 240 episodes are coming out within 2 months so that we can reach up to 10 million children. That gives us the energy because we know that when the children get this content, it might be the only educational content they got for the day.
Brooke-David has been awarded numerous international accolades for the work she does, and she plans to expand her show to a wider audience.
With everything taking the digital turn, the organisers of Ethiopia's biggest running event have turned to virtual running to keep the spirit of the race alive, which normally attracts around 45,000 participants every single year.
10-year-old Kia Daniel and her family take part in an online challenge to run 5 kilometres over a week in Ethiopia. The virtual competition was put together by organisers of the Great Ethiopian Run, a popular event in a country with a proud running history, but like with other sporting events around the world, it was cancelled this year.
We're not allowed to get out. We're not allowed to touch people, get closer to them. But I really like running. That's why I registered for the run.
The 10-kilometre run usually attracts around 45,000 people every year. Knowing its popularity, organisers came up with a virtual event to replace it this year. They built an online running club using a social networking app, challenging people to run 5 kilometres over the course of a week. Ermia Sayele is a director of the Great Ethiopian Run.
This could be the new normal in the future, so we need to do some things. And we start small. Normally we organize the biggest event in Africa. The Great Ethiopian Run 10K is, 45,000 runners last year, and we were aiming for 46 this year, but that could not, now that's in question.
Kia's family may be running alone, but the online camaraderie has made them feel part of a wider sporting community. Their performance even led to a surprise visit from Ermias, who awarded the family medals for taking part.
And still to come. Now it's Uber versus Bolt in the quest to conquer Africa's booming ride-hailing and car-sharing sector. This is #Africa. Let's now take a quick look at news making headlines across the African continent. A few hotels in Egypt are also taking bookings online. Egypt's government has given a thumbs up to hotels to start operating, only with the exception that they meet standards set forth by the Ministry of Tourism to operate during the lockdown crisis.
Many hotels in the northeastern of Africa are now operating with strict regulations set by the government. These include having an on-site resident doctor, regular temperature checks, and a quarantine area.
Yes, with the certification of the authorities, we've in the month of May been able to take our occupancy up to 25%, and now in June we can take our occupancy up to 50%. So, the arrangements that have been made are building hopefully confidence for guests to feel that they can return to hotels because the arrangements that we've made have their best interests.
The Egyptian government has given the green light for 99 hotels to reopen at a quarter of their usual capacity, provided they meet strict health and safety protocols. Guests are required to register online, while staff have to undergo rapid coronavirus tests when entering the resorts.
وهم عملوا كونراد عملوا سانيتايزنج للشنطة بتاعتي للباج لغاية لما وصلت عملت كيلس تشيك ان، وده أول مرة يحصل أو أشوفه، وحتى الإليفيترز لغاية لما طلعت الروم بتاعتي الغرفة ما لمستش أي حاجة.
Management at the Hilton Kings Ranch Hotel say large events and buffets have been banned.
احنا الحمد لله استوفينا كل الشروط اللي حددتها وزارة السياحة ووزارة الصحة. من احنا بدأنا لغينا كل البوفيهات، لغينا الأفراح، لغينا المؤتمرات، كل الإيفنتات الكبيرة اللي هي فيها عدد كبير لغيناها. بدأنا نطبق شروط التعقيم والتطهير من قبل فترة العيد.
Naveen Hamdi, who used to be a regular guest at the hotel before the pandemic, returned with her family to spend a few nights.
اول البوابه من بره الامن لابسين الكمامات الجلوفز، مفيش تعامل عن قرب، كل يعني انت بتتعامل حتى مع الريسبشن من بعيد، كل حاجه عندهم لا واخدين اعلى اجراءات.
Egypt has reported nearly 30,000 coronavirus cases and over 1,000 deaths.
Two of the most popular ride-hailing companies are fighting for bragging rights. But an Estonia-based ride, Bolt plans to raise the stakes even higher as it steps up to challenge Uber's dominance.
It's Uber versus Bolt in the quest to conquer Africa's booming ride-hailing and car-sharing sector. As Uber's chief business officer Brooks Entwistle said last year,
big cities with great opportunity. And so both Abidjan and Dakar are logical opportunities for us.
Ride-hailing companies are expanding into Africa where low levels of car ownership and limited mass transport make for a lucrative business opportunity. Tech giant Uber launched in Ivory Coast's commercial capital Abidjan last December, bringing the total number of sub-Saharan cities in which it operates up to 16. That includes Uber boat services in Lagos, Nigeria's megacity of around 20 million inhabitants. Architect and Lagos resident Kehinde Ajayi is a huge fan of the service.
This is a great improvement. You know when to leave work, you know when to leave your home, you know when to get to this to the ferry jetty to get your boat, and really Uber has really set the pace for even every other competitors out there.
But the company is facing stiff competition from Bolt, formerly called Taxify. The Estonia-based ride-hailing firm currently operates in 7 countries across the African continent. It originally launched in South Africa's financial hub Johannesburg before branching out to smaller cities. Bolt's chief executive and co-founder Marcus Willig said, quote, "Bolt's focus on Europe and Africa sets us apart from our competitors, and the success of this strategy is clear, with South Africa now one of our top markets globally." Since 2013, Bolt has raised more than $200 million from investors and announced plans to double its service in South Africa, the continent's most developed economy and one that's crucial to Uber's Africa strategy. Currently, Bolt and Uber have an estimated 25-75% split of the South African ride-hailing market. Bolt told Reuters it had 2 million rider signups in the country in 2019. Revenue in the ride-hailing segment in South Africa hit $314 million in 2019, according to Statista. Experts predict the market can be worth $616 million by 2023.
And that's it from me, Dumelo Mototwane. Remember to keep the conversation going online on Twitter. We are at Africa_ENCA. But we leave you with these beautiful pictures from our beautiful continent. Until next time, goodbye.